When we think about triggers, especially in social anxiety, we tend to isolate our focus on things that are happening outside of our control. Someone cuts us off on the highway, for example. They do something that aggravates us into oblivion. But in this video, I want to direct your attention to another kind of trigger, one that operates from within you that does not get recognized enough. In this video of a 3-part series on social anxiety triggers, I will be uncovering the internal triggers that fuel your social anxiety and what these different triggers mean for your underlying fears. The first kind of internal trigger that activates social anxiety are cognitive triggers. What are cognitive triggers? They are the way your thoughts line up with one another and help you make sense of the world around you. Over the last few decades, one of the most researched components of social anxiety disorder has been social cognition, the way we interpret social information to navigate uncertain social situations. Understanding our thoughts in this context is important for a number of reasons, but the primary one is this. Many people believe that the only way to overcome mental health disorders is to change the way they feel about things, when in reality, it often is about the way they think about things as well. Take this, for example. You have someone who struggles with social anxiety. They believe fundamentally that other people are judging them. But why do they believe this? It's because it feels like they are. They can feel a sense of shame rising from within them whenever they see other people. They feel their shoulders collapsing, not being able to look at other people. Because of these symptoms, they are fundamentally convinced that something must be wrong, creating what is known as a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the good news is this. We as patients don't have to rely on our emotions to recover from the disorders that plague us. We can use the way we think about things as an internal roadmap for navigating the complex emotions and sensations that we are currently going through. And the best way to start doing this is to understand how our thoughts trigger our anxiety without us even realizing it. So in this video, I will be covering 7 types of cognitive triggers. The first cognitive trigger I will be going into is imagining worst-case scenarios or catastrophizing about future social situations. Thoughts like, what if I freeze and everyone stares at me? What if they think I'm boring and walk away mid-conversation? Or what if I embarrass myself in front of others and can never show my face again? Are all things that exacerbate our feelings of stress, which could show up as physical symptoms like a racing heartbeat or sweating. The second is overanalyzing past interaction, or what is known as post-event rumination. Oftentimes, people with social anxiety overanalyze how they performed in conversations hours or even days after they happen, with thoughts like, why did I say that? It sounded so weird. Or they didn't laugh at my joke. I must have been trying too hard, becoming the forefront of their perception. The third is social comparison, through thoughts like, they're so confident, I'll never be like that. Or I'm so awkward compared to everyone else. The fourth is mentally preparing for or scripting social situations before they happen. This can happen through thoughts like, okay, if they say this, I'll respond with that. The fifth is assuming people are judging you, or the spotlight effect. The sixth is assuming others won't like you. And the seventh, which can be really sneaky, is setting impossibly high standards for yourself, also known as perfectionism. This can come across as thoughts as, I need to come across as confident all the time. I can't let myself make a single mistake. Or, if I said something wrong, it must mean I failed. By no means is this the list of all the kinds of thoughts that trigger social anxiety, but this should give you a good idea of how our thoughts activate feelings of anxiety within us, without something dangerous even existing in our environment. For the second part of this video, we will be focusing on emotional triggers. One of the more complicated parts of social anxiety, and honestly of mental health in general, is emotion. People with social anxiety often have a very hard time expressing how they feel around others. They might tell themselves that expressing emotion makes them weak. In close relationships, they might believe that if people saw who they truly were, they wouldn't like them anymore. They might say things like, that person doesn't like me for who I truly am. They hold their emotions, opinions, and authenticity inside of them. They create this invisible wall between their authentic self and version of them that feels acceptable to the world. And this feeling of hiding yourself from the world is called emotional suppression, where we consciously or unconsciously push down our emotions because we're afraid of being judged. For me, emotional suppression was one of the hardest parts of living with social anxiety. I spent years locking up my emotions, terrified of how people might respond if I said the wrong thing. I hid my emotions for years, feeling locked up inside of a mind that I couldn't escape. But here's the thing. Emotional suppression is not your fault. It is a defense mechanism your brain creates to protect you. When you've been through painful social experiences that made you feel shame, humiliation, or rejection, your brain learns to shut you down before it happens again. It's kind of like your mind saying, let's not risk that pain again. Better safe than sorry. And that's where emotional triggers come in. These are the things that reactivate that feeling of emotional suppression from deep within you. They are the emotions that you are too afraid to express in social situations. The emotions you feel like you have to suppress in order for you to feel accepted. So the more you learn to identify these triggers, the more you can start to reintegrate those emotions back into who you are and overcome social anxiety once and for all. Here is a list of emotional triggers. The final way social anxiety can be triggered is through something most people never expect: the body itself. Sometimes, our brain doesn't even have to send signals of threat for our body to start reacting in an anxious way. And that's because the brain and body are in constant communication. They talk to each other both ways. What this means, in simple terms, is that the body can trigger anxiety without any conscious thought. Even if your mind feels calm, your body might still react like it's in danger. While this might feel like a physical defect or some kind of deficit, the body does this for multiple reasons. One of the main reasons the body does this is because of stored stress and trauma. In my main article on my blog for social anxiety triggers, I talked about how social anxiety becomes stored in the body's two main stress systems: the sympathetic adrenal medullary axis and the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Over years of chronic stress, these axes can become overactivated, storing pent-up stress that the body never got to release. Because of this, even as your mind starts to heal, even as your thoughts become calmer, your body might still react like it's in danger. This is because your body is reactivating stored up stressful energy to finish up old stress responses. It's essentially learning how to return to safety. But beyond stored stress and trauma, another reason the body reacts with anxiety so quickly is because of the somatic memory of the nervous system. Over years of negative social situations and experiences, the fear response in people with social anxiety becomes so deeply conditioned that we start to fear the experience of anxiety itself. This is called meta-anxiety, being anxious about feeling anxious. We begin to dread the sensations that come with anxiety: blushing, trembling, sweating, a racing heartbeat, because those sensations have been tied to humiliation or rejection so many times that our body now sees them as signals of threat directly. This is why oftentimes we assume social situations will go poorly, because our body makes us feel that is the case. The result is a fast, automatic body-first reaction. The nervous system fires before the brain even has time to interpret what's happening. Even when your mind knows there's no real danger, your body has already decided otherwise. And that can be incredibly frustrating. That's why social anxiety has such a strong trauma component. It's not mental, it's physical as well, and it's deeply embedded in the nervous system. But there's also a genetic side to all of this. People with social anxiety tend to be highly sensitive, not emotionally, but physically as well. They have something called strong interoceptive awareness, which means they're more aware of what's happening inside of their body, how their thoughts and emotions interact with physical sensations. That can be a gift when it comes to emotions like joy or excitement, because you feel those things deeply. But it can also be a burden when it comes to emotions like fear, anxiety, or sadness. Because you're so tuned into how your body feels, the moment you feel something that reminds you of anxiety, your mind leans into your body to assess the situation. Why am I feeling anxious? What's happening? And then the cycle of negative thoughts spirals out of control again. So understanding your physical triggers, the things that your body reacts to automatically, can be a powerful step in healing. So that wraps up this video on internal social anxiety triggers. If you found this helpful, this video is actually part 1 of a 3-part series on social anxiety triggers. In the next video, we'll explore interpersonal triggers, the subtle things other people do that can activate your anxiety, like emotional cues, tone, or body language. If you want to dive deeper into what we covered today, you can check out my blog where I've written full articles on each type of trigger, plus a main article post that ties everything together and explains how the social threat response causes these reactions in the first place. You'll find those linked in the description below. And if you're someone who's dealing with social anxiety right now, or just trying to understand it better, I've also posted other videos on this channel about my own story, how social anxiety forms, and what recovery actually looks like. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to my channel, my newsletter, or just leave a little comment down below, because I'll be posting weekly videos on social anxiety, self-acceptance, and the psychology behind healing. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video on interpersonal social anxiety triggers.